Hi everyone, welcome back to our Singapore series. This is going to be the last video for this Singapore series. So in our last videos, we visited multiple hawker centers, we went to Gardens by the Bay, we went to Ketong and many other things. But for this video, we'll show you the most famous attractions probably, which are the Cloud Forest Dome and the Flower Domes. It's now the afternoon, we've eaten very well, and we are back at Gardens by the Bay. Somewhere that way, there is a cloud forest and a flower dome. These are two of the most popular activities in Singapore. It is definitely one of the more expensive activities here because you have to buy one ticket that combines the two dome visits, and that's $53 per person. We are actually here during an Avatar exposition. So when you enter the cloud forest, you enter through the gate on what I'm going to call the ground floor, and then you get to walk around, look at the sculptures, and in our case, because of the Avatar exposition, there was a bunch of Avatar sculptures. Once you've stopped your tour of the ground floor and you've stopped looking at the fountain, you can go have a Navi transformation of yourself, and it's quite funny, but it takes like maybe 2 seconds to do it, although we heard the lines could be really long. They also had a lot of beautiful orchids in the cloud forest, so if you like orchids, that's another place where you can take a look. And then finally, there was a small section where adults and kids were dancing, and it looked like we were all dancing inside a cave around a fire. That was not the most interesting, so we moved on to the elevator. Once you take the elevator and get to the top floor, you'll have, again, more orchid flowers, more tropical flowers and tropical plants, but you also see a view of downtown Singapore and other parts of Singapore from a different angle. I think one of the highlights on the top floor is actually this beautiful Chihuly sculpture. So this one is a permanent sculpture at the cloud forest, and it's called Ethereal White Persians. It's about 9 feet tall, and there's a total of 97 individual glass pieces. So if you're here and you like Chihuly sculptures, this is a really nice one. I am usually pretty scared of heights, so looking down like this is like really scary. Once you've seen the Chihuly sculptures, then the only thing left to do on that floor is just to walk down these walkways. You'll see tons of people taking pictures because it's really nice, especially if it's a sunny day. And then you'll get to the middle floors. Because this was an Avatar exposition, the middle floor had a bunch of fake dinosaur eggs. They had dinosaur sculptures, so this was really popular with kids. The final section is a bit hard to describe, but I would say it's somewhere between Team Lab meets movie theater. So we walked through this forest of LED lights, and I think it was supposed to represent the spirit tree or the tree of souls in the Avatar movie. And then finally they had a big screen showing some clips of Avatar, and this was a great publicity for the upcoming movie, Avatar 2. So normally after this tour of the cloud forest, most people actually leave and then probably move on to the flower dome. But we wanted to stay because we knew we had missed the mist times. So the mist times are actually every 2 hours. So it starts at 10 and finishes at 8 p.m. And we kind of wanted to see this. Basically, the plants at Cloud Forest get watered through a mist, and it changes the whole vibe of the place. So since we were there, we decided to wait a bit more. After after doing a second tour of the cloud forest from the top floor all the way down through the mist, we finally felt ready to leave and we went to the flower dome. And wow, it was completely different and not my favorite.
It is definitely Christmas themed here.
So while I really enjoyed our time at the Cloud Forest, I found that the Flower Dome was way too crowded and felt like I was inside an amusement park. I did enjoy the various sections, including the cactus section. I really liked the Mediterranean garden, which had some fruit trees and some impressive and very large olive trees.
These olive trees look absolutely insane. I wish I could grow them at home.
Other than the fruit trees and the olive trees and the cactus, I was actually quite disappointed in the selection of flowers. The flowers that were planted were actually your run-of-the-mill flowers you can find in any North American garden center. So we're talking about foxgloves, geraniums, hydrangeas. We saw pansies, zinnias, delphiniums, marigolds, astilbes, and other well-known flowers. I do like these flowers, but again, they're your average flower at your local garden center and maybe even in your neighbor's garden, and nothing that would be considered exotic or rare. I did like the huge poinsettia tree because it was Christmas themed, but to me, most flower displays were quite disappointing. I was also looking forward to the rose section. Even though they had many varieties, the roses looked quite droopy and had very little support for the vines, so most flowers were actually facing downwards, so all of these shots were taken with my GoPro pointing up. So after these two activities, it was time to head back to our hotel and find a place for dinner. So we decided to go to Chen's Mapo Tofu restaurant because it received the Michelin Bib Gourmand distinction. And since we ate at so many hawker centers, we thought that this would be a good place for dinner.
So our dishes are here. So this is the Mapo tofu. It comes with some soup, and then he also has some dry noodles on this side.
I know this is just tofu, but this was definitely one of the best Mapo tofu I've ever had. I thought it had a great balance of salt, of spices, and especially the numbing spices or Sichuan peppercorn. And if you come here, you have to try their homemade calamansi juice because it was excellent. Now for the rest of the evening, we went to an area called Clarke Quay that's known for having bars and great nightlife. But since we were still too early, we of course ended up inside another crazy shopping mall which had indoor rock climbing walls. We had my favorite taro drink at Milk Shop, and we had some of my favorite Chinese desserts, which are the mango pomelo sago soup and some glutinous rice balls in a sweet ginger soup. And after all that, we were ready to head out and admire Clarke Quay with all the lights at night.
Well, this is the long line for the famous bakute that we tried 2 days ago, but this is a different location. And you can see it says celebrating 6 years of Michelin Bib Gourmand. Now at this point, I think all the malls that we're seeing are starting to look very similar. So we're here at Plaza Singapura. It might be too early this morning because there isn't much happening here, but there is an arcade on the 7th floor. We were not planning on coming to Hawker Chan because we didn't know there was an outlet here, but it's 10:30 in the morning and the meats look amazing. So for $6.80, we'll get the soy chicken with rice. So just like the other location, the chicken here is very tender. The skin is very flavorful. I know it looks like a really simple dish, but this is actually very yummy. And the rice is definitely a winner, and also very flavorful. I think it was cooked in chicken broth, I think. There's a lot of Tim Ho Wan locations here in Singapore. We love this place. We had it in Hong Kong, but I think it's slightly more expensive here in Singapore. That's really good dim sum.
Unfortunately for us, it kept on raining and raining the rest of the afternoon, so we went back to Orchard Road, went around the shopping malls. We went to this Japanese store where we had some snacks. They had a good selection of raw fish, so we got ourselves some toro, and then we also had some Wagyu skewers.
So that was yummy. We're now at Center Point. There is food absolutely everywhere here. This place is quite happening. And we're gonna try the $2.50 popia. I think that's how they pronounce it, popia. So this is a popia, or popia. I still don't know how to pronounce it. What's inside? It looks like there's some lettuce, some crispy bits. I think that's daikon. Interesting. So this area is called Emerald Hill, and according to this sign, Emerald Hill was the site of a former nutmeg orchard.
As mentioned previously, Singapore was well known for being part of the spice trade. So spices like cinnamon, cardamom, ginger were all very sought after. But Singapore was especially known for nutmeg as well as cinnamon. Nowadays, Orchard Road is known for being a major shopping district, but it's crazy to think that back then it was known for its nutmeg orchards.
Good morning. Today is unfortunately our last full day here in Singapore, which I'm very sad about. We are just checking out the pool at the Westin. So the pool is on the 35th floor, and it's surrounded by all those skyscrapers, and you see the harbor over there, and you can even see a cruise ship. And on this side you have another skyscraper, but you do have a view over the Singapore Flyer. So we are back in Chinatown because I wanted to go to a few stores before we leave. These guys are preparing the decorations for Chinese New Year. So we've been looking for some rambutan to try, as well as some mangosteen, because I've never tried them before. And of course this has other fruits. So of course you've got some durians, and this is a section of pre-cut food. And the quest for snacks continues. So we got two of these guys. So we ordered the simple kaya toast breakfast set, although some people are definitely having fried chicken around us.
For the rest of the morning, we decided to explore more of Chinatown. Even though we had been to Chinatown so many times already, this Chinatown is truly one of the biggest we've ever seen, and it definitely takes a few days to explore all the buildings, all the hawker centers, and all the shopping malls.
So this plate of 3 meats cost $18. So we got ourselves again some crispy pork, There's some roasted duck and some char siu here. So the reason we are here back at Amoy Food Center is that we wanted to try out this place called A Noodle Story. It's like a Singapore-style ramen noodle. So one thing we realized about hawker centers is they are always more happening and busy at lunchtime than at dinner time. So we're apparently also getting some beef noodle because this place is also very famous. So this is ramen, and this is the reason why we came back to this place a second time. So the egg looks beautiful. I'm not sure what this is, something fried. And there's some pork, some wontons, and I think there's some, this might be chili on the side, and some seaweed. Sambal. Oh, it's sambal. Okay. Bon appetit. So we have finally made it to Yotel Changi Airport, which is the hotel for tonight. And as you can see, the room is pretty small. That's the space we have for our luggage. This is our bed, and I guess this is the storage area. And then, wait a minute. Oh, that's the shower. So we are staying here because tomorrow morning our flight leaves pretty early, and we want to sleep as much as possible. Also a little lounge here where you can have free coffee and water with a view over the vortex. The location though is pretty good because the rain vortex is just behind us, and we are also at a walking distance to the Pokemon Center over there. So the Jewel at Changi is already a mall on its own. It has a lot of restaurants. For example, we can see Shake Shack down there, but there's a lot of high-end restaurants as well. This is where we ate our truffle ramen on day one. And there's definitely a lot of kids around here.
It's making a mochi.
There's also some Funko Pops with some happy and angry Pikachus. That's $84 Giratina. Palkia 84. Snorlax is very popular because there's only 2 left. Oh, there's only 1 Jigglypuff left. Some Mews and some Ditos. You can even pay to go on what they call the Canopy Park. And there's some shops on the top floor as well. Oh, this is a decent spot. And the monorail actually goes on these tracks. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I think this might be our last mall on this trip because we're leaving tomorrow. And once again, there's no shortage of shops and restaurants in this mall, just like all the other malls we've visited in Singapore. And for dinner, we're going to do shabu shabu here for $25.99 per person. So it's a Japanese hot pot, but it's a buffet here. So this is the vegetable section. There's a lot of mushroom, cabbage, veggies in general, more tofu, eggplants. And this is the condiment section. Sauces. this is going to be our final bubble tea for this trip. So we'll go with the bubble milk tea.
And just like that, it was the end of our incredible trip to Singapore. If you liked our series, then please like and subscribe because we have other videos coming up this year.